Hello, everyone. Welcome to another GameCamp webinar. It's the first webinar in this year. Today's webinar will be focused on growth, especially on user acquisition. So the topic is user acquisition marathon, not a sprint. So welcome our guests that will be speaking today. So welcome Philippos Drogitis, who is growth manager at Reality Games.
Hello.
Philippis. And then let's welcome Łukasz Baranowski, who is working with UA as well in Reality Games. Hello, Łukasz.
Hello. It's great to be here today.
Hello. And then, well, let's welcome Rafał Pudlowski, who is art director in Reality Games as well.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, Rafał. And welcome Martin Smajek, who is working with growth and the creatives in Reality Games as well.
Hello, thank you very much.
So welcome, guys. So today we will be having the guys from Reality Games presenting their journey in user acquisition, in both topics related to the growth and creative. So thank you guys for sharing your knowledge and experience with the folk. So if we, in this case, as always, we of course encouraging you to share questions and add questions. You can just do it at Slido platform. Just add the GameCamp as the name of the event, and then you can add questions to the speakers, and then you can vote on questions of other people as well. So I really encourage you. That's the good opportunity to ask direct questions about UA and creative in this case. So in this case, not spending more time on introduction, Philippos and Łukasz, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Mariusz.
Thank you. So, hi everyone. I'm super excited to be here along with my colleague Łukasz. And please allow us to take you for our UA journey, which the topic is user acquisition is a marathon, not a sprint. So, who we are? We are Reality Games, a developer of Landlord Go, the biggest geolocation property trading game in the world, in which millions of players are using augmented reality to buy real buildings in real locations. What makes us unique? What is unique about our products is lack of direct competition. Landlord allow us to operate within many genres at the same time. The main idea was to make an easy-to-play, fun type of game for all. In a shortcut, it's a mix of Monopoly and Pokemon Go.
The biggest challenge for us was coronavirus pandemic. While everyone was locked at home, we actually decided to release the game that requires people to go out. And while all other games noticed an increase in LTV and engagement, in our case, it was pretty risky, and it brought us a lot of consideration whether we should or not should start the user acquisition. Despite that difficult times, when the Landlord Go was released, we really had great hopes. We really believed that Landlord Go is going to be the future of gaming. And actually, surprisingly to us, the interest was really high. The game was the game had pretty big reception in the media. There were a lot of articles about us, radio and TV interviews. It was all up to even 1,500 press articles, and Lenor Go started performing really well, even 70% better than the previous game, which was Lenor Tycoon. And we thought that actually right now is an excellent moment to jump to the next growth level. So we began with Google Ads. But there is unfortunately the difference between the market's interest in the product and the product's monetization.
And it was the moment when we actually full started. So we went way too big at first. And we didn't know all the aspects of how our product would work in the market. So basically, from the business perspective, you need to monitor your cash flow and understand the risk you are taking. But we didn't know all the mechanisms that were driven by the COVID influence market, and we failed. Although we had a really good D14 ROAS, but it wasn't enough to meet our further KPIs like D30, D60, D90. So basically, we just lost our money. And before the start of the campaigns, we put a lot of effort into predicting the development of the LTV curve based on the historical data. So just a few days after the launch of the first user acquisition campaign, we could say more or less how LTV would lay out. For example, we analyzed how the LTV grows per purchase. And however, not everything went according to the predictions because the market is changing all the time, and the users acquired with Google Ads and Facebook Ads do not always behave in the same way as the organic users, which our LTV curve was initially based on. And we burned lots of money and we lost the confidence in paid UA. And literally everybody in the company was disappointed.
So we had to take kind of a different approach. We started working really hard on improving the product from the side of monetization, and we started the user acquisition again. Luckily, this time we had really great support from the Google team, especially Mariusz Gąsiewski, who is here today, and who helped us with planning the optimal strategies for the particular markets. Instead of high costly blind campaigns, it was actually a matter of tests with CPI campaigns for the beginning. We made sure that the traffic tracking works to measure how effectively our ads are leading people to the install. We double checked the quality of data, and if the conversions are well connected, all those things that are practically necessary to start campaigns. I'd say we could finally target our audience, control the costs. We could start measuring our ROAS and retention properly. So again, I think we were ready and started believing that if we have really well-planned UA strategy, then it's going to be success. So the next step was to begin with real CPA campaigns. Yeah. Since our game is played globally, we wanted to target all possible markets at the same time. And the initial strategy was to divide those markets into 4 major campaigns. So as you can see here, United States and Great Britain were in one campaign as the US. All German-speaking countries like Germany, Austria, and Switzerland, we put in one campaign. All other tier 1 countries we put together, and the last one, worldwide, big campaign as well. At the beginning, we started campaigns with a small scale. In the previous slide, you could see that there were quite big budgets, but at the beginning they were, of course, much smaller, small enough for optimization. Yeah, so we could control it well. It was about 20 times of our CPA. We didn't try to change many things. Actually, we didn't touch it. We just let it run. And when we observe that there is a good traction, we started increasing the budgets.
So here is one of the examples of how we set up the campaigns. This is the worldwide campaign, and we set it for the in-app purchase Firebase event, CPA campaign. And what's very interesting here is the conversion window, much shorter than the suggested by the system. And in our case, it was working really well. So we started real CPA campaigns. And when everything started finally working, and the campaign started showing promising results with ROAS D30 meeting our data points, then we started adding more campaigns and developing the structure. And this time we were focusing on certain countries. We added, for example, Poland or Russia, Czech Republic, and Slovakia together because they were working really well with our game via paid traffics.
Next, we started looking more into different possibilities. How actually we can target better quality users with smaller scale campaigns. And so we checked the most popular events in our game and how the players behave while taking part in those events. We have set the LTV predictors for different markets. And this way we could choose the right markets for those event-based campaigns. So now I'd like to show you actually how can we create the example event. First, in Firebase, yes, we are here in the Firebase, we should determine the audience, and then we should also determine conditions for that audience. In this case, you can see that the user will be included in that audience if he watches 20 in-game ads in 3 days. If he watches those 20 videos, yes, the ads in the game, if some such thing happens, such circumstances occur, then we can tell the Firebase to log it as the event, which is later being marked as a conversion, and then we can send it to the AdWords account. Here we set the membership duration for 3 days. So if such thing happens that the user watches the 20 commercials in the game in 3 days, then the event ends. But of course, there might be like users that are really engaged in the game, and maybe some of them would watch 40 rewarded videos in 3 days. Then we count it as 2 separate events. Yeah, the Firebase would log 2 separate events. And here we have some examples of our bidding strategies. The first one in the left upper corner is a buy skill campaign. Yeah, so in our game, actually, players can buy some extra skills with in-game currency. So this even happens quite often. So we decided to use it as a predictor. Next, we have TROAS campaigns, which are quite expensive. German people on vacation is one of my favorites here because it's kind of special. We are targeting actually German-speaking people outside of the country. especially when they go for summer vacation. Yeah, so if someone from Germany goes to Croatia, then he will watch the ad in German. And the last one here, last example, is 20 ads in 3 days. However, in some countries, like for example Hong Kong, it might need a little bit more time to watch 20 ads. So we set that time for 4 days. Having all those strategies, we could easily diversify our campaigns and focus even on smaller campaigns on each significant market. The main reason why we did so is that the TROAS campaigns and CPA campaigns need really big scale to work well. Yes, and the big scale, of course, means more money. And on many markets, we cannot use the full advantage of the big CPA campaigns because the markets are much smaller. Yeah, so this kind of in these kind of markets, small markets from T1, the CPA campaign might not even start. And the smaller campaigns allow us to have more flexible budget management, better ROAS management, even better ratio between the user quality and quantity. And what's also interesting in the smaller, while having the smaller campaigns, we can use the local creatives, right? So in which allows us for much better localization. And for example, in some small Asian market like Hong Kong, there will be a Hong Kongese person speaking. In Arabic country like Egypt, there will be Arabic person speaking in the ad. And in this slide also we can see how much cheaper the smaller campaigns are comparing to the CPA campaigns, sorry. And here I would like to show an example of how we can choose a bidding strategy for the particular market. Our game monetization is based on in-app purchases and partially on the ads watched by the players. Actually, right now it's about 50-50. And now let's say that we have a predictor that is a number of conversions. And in this case, we have a predictor based on the number of ads watched. Then we take a number of purchases and divide it by that predictor. In a result, we can see such countries, for example, as Germany here and United States, with really high number of purchases, which are marked in blue here. And in this kind of campaigns, in this kind of markets, for sure, we are not going to use the ad predictors because the in-app purchase is a predictor here. Yeah, so he will base the campaigns on in-app purchases. However, in smaller T1 countries, as I said before, it is not profitable to do an in-app based campaign. So we are going to we use here different predictors like by skill. And there are also those red countries where there are so few in-app purchases that we don't even expect users to buy anything in a game. So we set here the ad-based campaigns. In the green countries, for example, the predictor would mean that more or less this is the amount of ROAS that we can expect from the in-apps. So here is also a good example where we should base the campaign on some events or ads.
So we finally have made a decision to start with Unity ads. And one of the reasons why we started first with Google ads was that Unity required much more budget for initial campaigns. So with Unity, we started slowly with only one campaign to check if all the data is collected correctly on our site. And what is important with Unity ads, it's that the campaigns scale up very quickly. Like literally, they can scale up overnight. And we had to pay more attention on setting the right daily caps to control the spend. And later on, we managed to set campaigns with very low CPI, way below the benchmark, and check if they go out from the learning phase. If not, we would increase the bid. And in this way, we could set the bids much lower than the benchmarks that I just mentioned. So they were very cheap campaigns on many different markets. And the idea was that they will collect the data. Even one in-app purchase could cover the cost of a daily cohort. They were that cheap. And we noticed also that the square format of the graphic assets works better than horizontal and vertically oriented. The next step was to create even more cheap CPI campaigns so they could collect enough data so we could finally start working on ROAS campaigns. And Unity ROAS campaigns appeared to work really well for us with much higher retention and very quick return of the investment. While in Google Ads, the algorithm chooses the best creatives for you, in the Unity, we had the freedom which allows us for testing. And here are some examples. Like we mentioned A/B test, but actually we're doing A, B, C, and D test to really find the best possible creative. And the reason why, the higher conversion you have, actually the lower the CPI is. And here are sources that we are using as reality games. So around 66% of the new traffic for our main game, Landlord Go on Android, comes from UA activities. This is the data from Q4 2021.
In reality games, we have several sources for user acquisition. So here are our main ones. There is Unity ads, Google ads, Facebook, ASA, even influencer marketing. But as you can see in those graphs, the majority of our budget is directed towards Google ads. This is our main source. However, we keep pushing more budget into Unity ads because we noticed that the ROAS campaigns they are very profitable for us. On Facebook, at the beginning, the scale was higher, but probably most of you know what happened after the release of iOS 14, and during the further development of our campaigns, we noticed that not every country has the same LTV curve. For example, some countries had better ROAS D7 and weekend later, and there were countries that behaved in opposite way. Yeah, so they had worse ROAS up to day 7, but they had better ROAS later. We also saw that CPA campaigns had much faster ROAS at the beginning, but that the ROAS flattened later over time. However, the users from this type of campaigns, of course, are with better quality, but the CPI, the cost per install there is much higher. On the other hand, we also noticed that very often the campaign is based on the events and those ad predictors, for example, had lower ROAS at the very beginning, but didn't get flattened in time as in case of CPA campaigns. So we could measure all of that.
So ROAS analysis and budget management. We look at the cash flow from the perspective of a self-funded middle-sized company, and we have to plan it carefully. And because of COVID, we must take into consideration that we operate in a much more complicated environment than regular mobile games developers. Other aspects are that this is a kind of hardcore game, and it's not easy to understand it, as in case of one-thumb casual games. Our company is still learning, and the product might look completely different in the future. Our category is completely innovative and new, which is great for the future, but not necessarily to understand it by users now. And one of the main methods of managing the cash flow is to ensure the fluent work of UA algorithms without pausing them, as it may cause the algorithm will go back to the learning phase. We made sure to optimize the budget, increase or decrease the bids. Some of the campaigns have really long historical data, and it would be a pity to lose all of that information if we had to pause them. We also monitor retention in rate in order to understand if campaign is reaching the right audience. So we're working closely with the product team to fix founded errors in game. And for example, this error we can be like, why does the retention drop significantly at D30 in some markets and some campaigns?
Yes, sorry, I was muted. Moving to the, I would like to move to the aspect of the ads themselves, and there are a few things that could be mentioned here. One of them is the importance of organization of the ad groups by themes. For example, in the tech group, we have texts and ads related to the technical side of our game. For example, how we use the advantage of GPS or big data, and in the news ad group, we use kind of clickbait ads. And in the fun ad group, we can use the aspect of people having fun together, playing with friends, playing with family, and so on. And another important thing is that we can notice a boost to organic traffic. Having divided the budgets to smaller markets, it is easier for us, much easier to control them and generate enough downloads in those countries, and it causes that our game is more visible in the Play Store. So thanks to that, we can have a significant increase in organic traffic, which I guess it's everyone's favorite because it's free. As you can see in this slide, that we tend to stay in several countries at the top in the board category, and the below graph shows that we are even able to move to the top 50 in overall category in Czech Republic in this example. Of course, everything is managed, yeah, so we don't lose the track of ROAS, and it doesn't decrease.
So another very important thing to mention is ASO, which is connected to the store conversion. Good UA has to be connected with an appropriate ASO. It's like high quality of ASO generates higher conversion, which is equal to more installs from the same amount of visitors, and at the end it lowers your CPI. Additionally, please take a moment in your UA journey to think how localization switch over time to culturalization when ensuring right localized creative and grammar and ads translations.
I'm muted again, sorry. Thank you very much for being with us today. This is the last slide, and it was a pleasure to talk to you today and listen to our story. Thank you for listening to our story about how we didn't get lost in the crowd of 21 million launched apps only in 2020. Actually, we had kind of success because we managed to become the most popular geolocation game on the planet. So thank you very much. Thank you, Philip.
Thank you.
We pass our voice to others.
Thank you guys for a great presentation. Maybe before we kind of we go to the next presentation, like there was the question at the slide, like what was the hardest for you to to start this second attempt of UA? What do you think was like the hardest? Because like that you had the first kind of challenge at the beginning, then there was some time with that, and then there was like the decision to start again. What was the hardest then?
Let me answer that question. I think that one of the hardest things was to actually find the reason why we didn't have that D14 ROAS higher, and the problem was with the monetization, and finding all the ways we can actually improve that was a challenge. Another challenge for me personally was to measure everything. Yes, to measure our ROAS. I had to do it everything by hand, and it took me really many hours every week just to calculate how much ROAS we have every day. Yeah, so that was
okay. So as I understand, you didn't have the proper structure yet created for that, yeah?
Yes. Luckily now, thanks to our analytics team, we have really great tool, and it's all automated. Everything is calculating by itself, so I don't have to, use so much effort to do that.
Thank you, guys. Please stay with us, of course, for like Q&A part. And now let's go to the next presentation where Rafael and Marcin they will be talking about creatives and what's the approach towards creative, especially in relation to UA. Guys, the stage is yours.
Yes, hello. So now we are going to show you how we evolved in the making of our ads, because there is a bumpy word there. Also, we have also learned a lot of things on how to better create ads. So at the beginning, we made two ads. One which is a cut of our game trailer, with several minutes long. The other from our store movie. We launched them first in English. Then we localized ads for the biggest markets, and we saw that localizations help a lot in conversion. So with these two ads, we made many files and many hours of work to localize it for almost every country on the store.
Although John, the main character, are still with us, so we decided that as a natural evolution, change the cartoonish character to the real people. So we set the movie set in London and spent a few days to create the ad with the real people. And the main theme of this ad was the competition between two main characters. And it seems that this real people, attractive people, seems to be more reliable and trustworthy to our players. So we decided to focus mainly on these movies. But of course, not everybody lives in London, so we was trying to make a deeper localization. So we took this movie, cut it a little, and choose the stock footage to implement the famous landmarks from these different countries. And for the beginning, at the beginning, this footage was in the middle of the ad, but after some tests, we've decided to put it on the front, and it had a huge impact on this of the conversions. So we decided to stick with this and make it even deeper. So now I want to show you the actual ad we are using. Be careful, could be a little bit loud.
Buy the Empire State Building. It's only $475 million. There are thousands of properties in the world and one game where you can have them all. Landlord Go. We are proud to present the first real-world AR game that uses real buildings, real people from real cities to create the first property game. It truly turns your city into an action-packed strategy game. Play the game for free.
So we are making many tests with our ads, and to do it, we mostly buy stock videos or use again things that was filmed before. We have also seen that the 30 seconds movies works best, so now we are doing all our movies in a 30-second format in 3 different format size, so that we can reach every media that is available. As you can see here, we are testing, for example, for Asian markets with one of our ads to have a European presenter, and then with an Asian presenter, and of course everything is always localized. And since it is a lot of work, we have tried to automate the most things that we can. So for example, for our videos, this is our workflow on how we do it. So you can see that you have a short idea part at the beginning, because the beginning of the movie is the most important one and the one that will make people click. We have a middle part which is not changed so often. It is the same but localized on every of our ads and common end screen. And to localize better, we organize our files in layers, so we can have in a separate layer all of the localizations, like some places, some movies, the voiceover, titles, and so on. So thanks to that, we can make several localizations in a short amount of time.
Breaking news. The Statue of Liberty has been sold to a private investor.
Buy buildings, streets, cities, even the United States, or your favorite restaurant. We are proud to present the first real-world AR game that uses real buildings, real people from real cities to create the first property game. There are thousands of properties in the world and one game where you can have them all. Landlord Go.
Martin,
Okay.
you are muted.
Yes. So sorry. As you can see, there is a lot of localizations to do, and this is not only the language, but we have to localize all the stuff like text. We need to find and change the venue. Of course, we have to order the voiceovers. If we want to go even deeper, we are changing presenter for Asian markets and countries. And of course, we need to export all of this as in 3 video formats and change the statics for end screens. So that's why we are cooperating with Fiverr, and we are working with over 65 Fiverr translators and voice artists around the world constantly.
We also made a lot of statics ads for Facebook or for end screens on Unity, and here we must try to automate it also. So our solution was to take our workflow to creating ads and end screen and move it to Figma. When we also move it the UI and UX of our game, so it is easier to have, for example, screenshots from the game to use in ads. We managed to have all the translations in a Google Doc, and then with a plugin, we can automatically change texts in all of our ads in Figma. So, for example, if you wanted to try an ad with different text, we have just to update the Google Sheets, run the plugin on Figma, and then you have all the new text. Of course, you have to make some manual adjustments for text style or changing the images, but it has helped us a lot, and we are working a lot faster to create our statics.
Of course, we are doing a lot of testing, and before I continue, I would like to ask you to choose the one of this ad, and please tell us in the comment which you like the most, A, B, or C, like in 10 seconds. Okay, so yes, which version? Anyway, yeah, as you can see, there is a different letters, different ads you like. So it is like in the real world. So this is very similar ads, but as you can see, the first one, the B, was performing a little bit worse than the C, and later the C was a little bit worse than A. So what I want to say, it's really important to not to be, or to be more objective and not watch only by yourself, and brainstorming, use brainstorming and ask people around also what they are thinking. And of course, you can do the tests.
And it is not every time that the most beautiful and finely crafted ad works the best. Sometimes the thing that you create in 5 minutes works better. So always test.
And as you can see, there is you can test in the different platform, and different even different countries could perform in different way because of the population and so on. So you have to take a look at this all these KPIs and choose the one you prefer. And also you can create two very similar videos or two creations and put it to the test in one country and observe the KPIs.
Okay, so now we are going to talk of how we find ideas to make these ads. So we are making some mockups and ideas with the stock videos, just to try to find something that can be interesting. We test it on a few markets, and if it works well, we localize it for others. Market research, we play also games, of course, and see many other ads. We try to use a different approach to some stuff like if the bigger logo on the screen works better or not. We try to improve what is good. We recycle our ads. We do some brainstorming sessions on FigJam, Figma, or any other program that you can, and of course talk with our colleagues at work or with our friends.
Of course, there is different challenges during these processes. like it was mentioned, the different countries and culture, of course. Localizations, so we have to manage all the languages and the voiceovers. So it's almost 40 different translators and another different voiceovers artists. Of course, we have to show the idea of the game, and sometimes it's not easy because our game is not like hyper casual, and it's mostly a map and a lot of numbers. So it has to be quite challenging to show the idea of the game. Also, the big challenge is keep the ad relevant. So we all know the games that shows the gameplay on the ad, but in reality, these games look totally different, and we don't want to do that. Also, the next challenge is that, as you can see, we had like only one movie, like real ad movie. So we are using these assets to constantly. So we're trying to mix it with different stocks and other text and messages to look still fresh, even they are still the same. Of course, like I mentioned before, it's very important to be objective and trust not yourself, but trust the tests. And of course, different platforms could be different with the like different ads could work in different platforms. So also it's could be challenging.
Okay, so now for some tips how to create beautiful ads when you are on a budget. Stock video, graphics, photo are your friends. Doing good graphic design can be very time consuming. So making a mishmash patchwork with already done graphic design can be very faster than doing it from scratch. For videos, you can just download the preview and play with them. And when you have something that you think is good, then you buy the stock and do the ad. Fiverr have been very good for us to manage the translations. And of course, try to automate, organize as much as you can of your workflow, so you pass less time doing the work, and you have more time to find new ads and new way to advertise your game. Don't hesitate to remix your old ads into new ones. There's always something that you can use, like an old voiceover cut differently can have a different message, and you have a new ad. Some clickbaiting is good, but not too much, like Martin said about the old gameplay games. We always try to make something original. And also, as the guys before said, user acquisition is a funnel, so you must also have good app store optimizations and a good monetization in your game. And that's it from us. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you guys for a really interesting presentation. And I think we can really move to this, Q&A and discussion part. So Łukasz and Filipos and Alek. So we have a few questions. Probably even more will be on the more on the way. Like, the first one was like, how long do you let predictors, like events, to gather the data? And how long it took for you, like to create this LTV curve?
Actually, it took us a couple weeks, if not months. To gather all the data, it's the test must run for some time, especially on Google Ads, comparing, for example, to Unity, where you can scale the campaigns very quickly, and that learning phase for Unity is much shorter than for example, Google Ads.
So as I understand those campaigns with predictors, you are you are running as CPA campaigns, just with the different event and purchase, correct?
Exactly. Yes. On very low cost, and we are just adjusting the bids. Yes. The other question was, how do you run? No.
Yes, so maybe then the second questions around creatives. What is your approach to test creatives? Where do you test creatives? It's Facebook, Google, Unity. What is your approach to test creatives, and how you look at the ROAS of those tests?
Who goes now? All right. So Google is kind of hard to do testing. So we mainly test our creatives on Facebook and Unity ads. On Facebook is the easiest one to test because the amount of installs has to be 100 or more. So then you get your test in the fastest way. And we can say that Facebook is more or less the most objective to test. Unity is also very good for testing, but then we do testing in a different way. We gather the data and then we analyze it, and then we get the assumptions. It's not automatically as it is on Facebook.
Thank you, Philippos. So I think you answered also the next question: what network do you use to test ads? And I think the next would be to Rafael. So why did you test only 2 new creatives at the time and then move on? Why not test all of them at the same time?
Well, it is because when we test something, we really want to know why it is working better. So if you have 2 ads very similar, but with just one thing aspect or graphic design that is changed, if one of them works really better, you know why. If you put 5, 6 different ads in one test, you see that one is winning, but you don't know why. So we try to do it with iteration, with A/B or A/B test, so we can increment, and after each step we have a better ad because we see that this one is working better. That's why we try to test only with 2, max 3 ads at the time.
Mariusz, I think you're muted.
Asking if you are present in Latin America. So if you are running the campaigns for Latin America as well.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do. For example, in Brazil, in Chile, in actually many countries.
Argentina.
Yes. So actually, Latin America is also. There are some markets that are good for us.
So, okay, so maybe following this question, it's not visible here, but I see all the questions. So do the same creatives work in all countries? What's your experience here?
So for example, you mentioned that you have different teams. It's do you see that, okay, if there is one team, then it's winning in all countries, or it's you see that sometimes one team is more important for one country, and then the second one is more favorable to the other one. Maybe Łukasz?
Sorry, I couldn't hear the question. There was some.
So if, for example, if you have different teams of the creatives, it's do you see that it's more often that the same creative works across all countries, or do you see that different team of the creatives work in in some countries, and different team can work better in other types of countries, or do you see that, okay, if there is winning creative, then it's winning in all countries? How does it go on your side?
Of course, in different countries, different creatives work better, especially if they are localized. More, I would say, even more not localized, but culturalized. So if we make an ad in let's say Chinese language, yeah, so they would work better in Chinese-speaking countries like Taiwan and Hong Kong. If we are talking about some aspects of setting the ad, for example, if we have some elements that we know that attract the players to download the game, then we tend to put them in most of our ads. Then, for example, the purchase at the very beginning of the ad, that's one of the points where we find it very, very popular for our audience.
Thanks. So yeah, the next question got a lot of thumbs up. How often do you change your creatives? Marcin, maybe you could answer this one.
Yeah, of course. It depends really, because in tier 1 countries we are changing this much often than in tier 3 countries, because tier 1 countries we are trying to keep it like fresh, so we are changing it like we are trying to do this like one in a month, because you have to remember that create the creatives is also creative work, so it takes some time, and we need different ideas to create some new ad. So in tier 1 countries, like in month, and in tier 3 it stays longer, lasts longer.
Can I add something here? It also depends on the scale of the campaign. Yeah, if your campaign has really huge scale and is, let's say, over $200,000 a month, then it's worth to change that creative more often than just 1 month, because it's just burning. People just watch it all the time. Yeah, so it's getting used.
Yes, ads burn over time. So if you see that one of your ads is losing its momentum, it's time to change it and have a fresh one so it goes up again.
And maybe following on that, you mentioned that at your presentation, like, how do you produce creatives? Like, are you using agencies, or like, you are doing more in-house? Like you mentioned a lot around the process, but maybe you could kind of a little bit, repeat that part.
Well, we have an approach that we are doing both. We do creatives in-house, and also we use freelancers to do other ads. So this way, also we can have two different types of ads, because if you do, for example, everything in-house, ads tends to be maybe looking the same after a certain time. So it's good also to have your ads made by someone else who can have a fresh view on it. So it's both.
Thank you. So the next question is about the tests, and when you're testing, how many installs you're aiming for, so your test could be valid. Do you have a minimum number?
Yes, like I think I mentioned it like 5 minutes ago. So with Facebook, it's 100 installs per set. And for example, on Unity, it's 1000 installs per set. And then we can consider it valid. If there is less than, we have to wait until they're gonna reach it.
Okay, thanks. Mariusz, would you like to ask the next one?
Yeah, like even following those creative topic, because it seems that it's like attracting many questions, like, on what type of creatives do you like focus most, like, image, or maybe HTML5 or video? How does it look like on your site? What do you see, like, where you see the highest this effort to outcome ratio, I would say?
Maybe I will answer if no one is speaking. So we focus mostly on the videos. We focus on three different orientation. It's horizontal, landmark, and the vertical and the square video. The videos work much better in Google Ads. And we noticed also that 30-second videos are better than, for example, 10 seconds or 15-second videos.
And like which do you have like any specific countries where you like that you are using mostly for testing, or like that where you like the testing? And like for example, like on Facebook, when you are doing those tests, you are just using that test just for one country or like for a few countries. How maybe Philippos maybe?
Yeah, so basically in the beginning we were picking because we didn't have the results yet, but we had to somehow decide where we would like to advertise. So we were choosing the countries for the test in the way of the basic conversion from the store. So let's say we were downloading the data from App Store or from Google Store, and then we were picking the countries with the highest conversion. And then after we did the first round, we took the countries with a little bit lower conversion, and then we were going lower and lower until we actually did them all. So now there is the testing went more into the creatives, because we already know which countries are better and which countries are worse for us, because it's obvious that the game is not working well in like 130 countries or 129 countries. There are better countries and there are worse countries. It's also connected with the culture. There are countries where people like this type of games, and there are countries where people tend not to play in this type of games, and then it's much more difficult to actually find your core audience in those
And
countries.
competition, of course,
Start
can be
running
different.
profitable campaigns.
Thank you, Philippos, for the answer.
Thanks. Maybe there is the next question is about do you have countries in more than one campaign at the time? As I understood, you have, for example, Croatia, even for Croatians, and then Croatia for others. I think it's about the localization, right?
Maybe Łukasz. I think
Yes. Actually, we do have sometimes this kind of campaigns, like I mentioned before about German speaking people. We target German speaking people also outside of Germany. Yeah. So we not only have the DACH campaign, but also the smaller campaign that would look for those people who speak German in other countries, especially when they go for vacation. We very rarely, but we do have two campaigns in the same country, especially when we do some tests, right? But we do it. We rarely have like two campaigns for the same country that are big.
Like, I will just add something to Łukasz comment. It's like, it's very important to make it incremental. So if you do run two campaigns at the same time in the same country, you have to very carefully pick the audience in order to do not overlap, because then actually you're bidding against yourself and you're losing money.
Yes, and having two different sources, yeah, like we have Google Ads and Unity Ads. We can without any problem have campaigns for the same markets here and here, yeah, because the users come from different places.
And maybe the next question, which is like, of course, like the topic in general, iOS 14 and like measurement, like, how do you measure those campaigns? Maybe Philippos?
Yeah, so it's quite problematic, right? I'm not gonna lie. And it's like we're still developing it all the time and looking how to measure it even more closely. So we use the MMPs as a base, and then from the ASA, so from Apple Search Ads, you get the full data. And then based on this data with the right amount of conversions, you can make a model we can make a model which is based on the amount of conversions, how the players are behave, and because this is a paid traffic, you can like then use this model on different sources like on Google or on Unity.
And maybe to add one question to like Rafael and Marcin, like when we talk about translation and localization of those creatives, what is like the most challenging part of that from your experience? Maybe Rafael, starting from you.
It is working on language that you don't understand. A funny thing when we are doing like Chinese or Japanese ads, sometimes you have to type when you are doing subtitles. You have to type the text in Google Speech, so you can hear it. And so, okay, this one goes there. So this one is a difficult part. Yeah.
It's also challenging to manage the Fiverr people. It's almost when you have like 40 plus countries and 40 plus translators and 40 plus voiceover artists. So it's like 80 people to manage. So sometimes it's could be hard, but it's manageable.
Nice project management, I understand. In this case, it's kind of required.
It is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, another question that got a lot of thumbs up is for games which rely on in-app purchases, which type of campaign is the way to go? CPA, CPI, or maybe a mixture? Who'd like to? Philippos?
I think it's really hard to say if we like before you do it. So you have to do some test on a small scale. I think always it's better to start with the CPI campaigns rather than do what we did last year. So blindly do the most expensive ones and hope for the best results and use like really a lot of money to do it. So I think it's good to start with the CPI to see if your MMP is working well, if you're gathering and all the data, if everything is connected, and then to see from the CPI campaigns based on retention how players are behaving, like when do they leave, and then look for the obstacles, like why do they leave, can we change something, can we improve it, how to monetize them better. And then as long as you go and the CPI campaigns are becoming more profitable for you, so actually you're getting your money back, you can move to the more expensive ones. That's my opinion.
Łukasz, would you like to add something to that?
I think that Philippe is right. Yes, it's a very good course of action to start with tests with CPI campaigns. Yes, cost per install, and then for the games that are really based on in-app purchases, then depends on what kind of markets you want to have your campaigns on. Yes, if you are going to go very broadly and you have a lot of budget, then of course the CPI campaigns and TROAS campaigns are a good choice. But when you want to have better management, better control over all the campaigns, then maybe it's good to diversify. Yeah, so to have some campaigns in CPA campaigns, TROAS campaigns, and also some campaigns based on other events.
Maybe I can add, maybe from my experience, from what I saw, is like that I see that TROAS campaigns are usually used by the companies that they have really high range of the purchases inside the game. So if you have like the you have some users who are like spending like $3, and some users who are spending like 2,000. So usually in those like whale-based games, I see, at least from the experience, that those games have more focus on TROAS. In those games, when this range of the purchases is way lower, than usually there is more focused on TCPA campaign, because it's a little bit usually like bringing a little bit traffic that is easier to manage. And of course, like TROAS requires even bigger scale than TCPA. Yes, so that's kind of the thing that we need to take into consideration. Okay, and maybe probably the last question is like, when you investing in new geo, like how do you measure like organic uplift? Like how you look at those uplifts in general? Because I know, at least from my experience, that is very hard to do. You have a lot of like variables that you need to take into consideration. Like, what is your approach? Do you put a lot of focus on that when you're analyzing new ROAS? Like, what is your approach in that case?
Actually,
maybe...
we measure it more when it comes to influencer marketing. And we tend to measure it less unless it's very visible, like Łukasz was showing in our presentation. For example, if you're visible in top 50, not in board, not in games, but in top 50 overall, then you can clearly see it. And then for influencer marketing, it's really important, because then you know the true value of your campaign. And I think that's the most important place to measure the organic uplift.
Okay, guys, thank you very much for like great session and the all like knowledge you shared with the audience. Like, thank you everyone who was listening to, like, for spending time with us. I hope to see you at one of the next webinars. Please go to the GameCamp.io to get information about future events, and I hope to see you in the future. And again, thank you again, guys, for like sharing great knowledge.
Thank you, Adam.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.